Hello Internet, I'm Jackie Fox. I'm kinda sweaty right now. This is a bit of an impromptu video, but there's a project that I've been working on that I'll show you a little bit later on in the video, but I finally got to introduce my neighbors to it today. Circumstances that are a bit strange, but I have a bit strange neighbors. It's fine, they're good people. It's just, he likes to drink, she likes to nag. When she likes to nag, he likes to drink. When he likes to drink, she likes to nag. They just don't don't work together. But for capitalism reasons, they've been together for years, mainly because they both been paying down this house, right? Well, when they get to fight, I can hear it all the way. Like if they went back at it right now, which is entirely possible, you would definitely be able to hear her. And maybe 45 minutes in or something, you'd be able to hear him after he's finally just sick of being yelled at and bellows back. Anyways, I'm awfully sweaty and looking like I was doing yard work because I was doing yard work. Trying to get a pressure washer ready so I can pressure wash my house. I'm also, I think my neighbor wants to borrow it to do his house, but I'm also thinking, like, if he wants to, he might be able to talk to other people in the neighborhood and do their houses as well. And that's fine by me. Don't even want to cut out the profit. It's sitting in my shed anyways. Might as well go to use beautifying the neighborhood and make a little cash for his pocket. But I'm out in the yard doing yard work, right? She wanders into my yard from an odd direction. They've been yelling at each other for a while. And she tells me police are on the way to come pick him up, hopefully. That he's really drunk and that he fell and hurt himself. So, thinking about the project, which you still don't know about, but thinking about the project, run into the house, grab a first aid kit, wander into the backyard, find him and say, "Hey man, heard you got hurt. Just want to offer you this first aid kit." And then I told him that, well, let's get into the project now. So, during the pandemic, I had a weird thing happen to my fridge. It's not exactly broken. I don't necessarily want to get rid of it, but I did replace it. So I've got a useful but not ideal refrigerator on my porch. And it's just been sitting there empty. I've cleaned it out, baking soda, just everything, to get that thing smelling right. And there was a point during the pandemic too that I was cleaning out the house and just going through stuff, and if it didn't bring me joy, I took it out and I put it in the freezer, right? So I've got a bunch of like cups and just things that are redundant that I put in there, a lot of plastic stuff, and I keep thinking I'm going to donate it because there's a Habitat for Humanity right down the road. Yeah, I might as well donate it. That's a pretty decent cause. But they have kind of strange hours, and I never seem to get there when they're open, and much less have any of that stuff on me. I also had a couple stereos. I was cleaning out a closet, found some really old stereos, and I don't have CDs anymore. I don't have cassettes anymore. What am I going to do with this? I kept one of the smaller ones as a radio because, having an AM FM tuner could be cool. But the rest of the stuff I just packed into the refrigerator. And then I've got a lot of extra room in the freezer, right? And I've still got the door open. And I'm thinking, what can I do with this space that will not only make, say, my life better and more convenient, but also give me kind of an outlet to help the community in even a really basic, really simple way. So I said to myself, I need a first aid kit. I bought a lot of first aid kits during the pandemic. I have one in every bathroom. There's one in the kitchen, just in case you slice your finger with something, with a knife or a mandolin. It's happened. I have a missing piece of my thumb because of it. Just kind of shaved off. So I actually have way more, and some of these are really big first aid kits, pretty substantial. One of them would have been enough for my house. I have plenty, so I figure making one of them publicly accessible, because I don't lock my porch. I have stuff on it, but this is a quiet neighborhood. I've got good people next to me looking out for me, even if they do yell in the yard every once in a while. So I feel pretty safe with that stuff out there. So I was thinking, in addition to that, I had overbought on some, like, early in the pandemic, found a big box of masks. Never really ended up using a lot of them because they were all kind of cheap and disposable and pretty much that quality that they were handing out for free there at the beginning, kind of like a hospital mask type thing. Got a big old box of those. Never been opened. There's also, I bought like a display case full of like packs of wet wipes. I have one in my gym bag, and I don't really know what to do with the rest, so I'm going to put some of those in there. I also bought like 6 containers of hydrogen peroxide just to stock up, so I figured I'd throw 2 of those in there as well. And then in the door, I just loaded that up with bottles of water that were, just been sitting around on the porch anyways, and then a bunch of carbonated water from the house, a little bit of flavor, a little bit of extra bubbly fun. If you don't just want a plain bottle of water, I've got options for you. And I just completely stocked that door because I had it. I'll buy more, it's fine. But I was thinking, especially the way my neighbors are. So she doesn't drive. Instead, she seems like one of those people who knows everybody and gets to know a lot about everybody. Some might call her a busybody. I'm sure he would. But I think it reminds me of my grandmother, honestly. She knew everybody. She was all up in everybody's business. She knew all the family businesses of everybody around. I think that's beneficial to a community. I mean, it's because that one person knows what the community needs. If you ever want to know, just ask them. Which, we need to have that talk in the future, I guess. And there is a suggestion board. I have a dry erase board where you can even write in the things that you might want or need or, think would work in there in that same way. And then I guess if stuff stays in there for a while, I'll finally make a trip to donate it for sure. And then put more extra stuff. I'm sure there are more things that are good, but I don't need. Just all over. And I'm sure I could declutter and feel better and give people things that they might actually find interesting. So I figure I might as well give the neighborhood the first crack. But also because she doesn't drive and knows everybody, she's often walking through my yard and going here, there. They're both in their 50s. I know my mom, being a bit older, having some health conditions, if she gets hot, and it gets hot out here, if she gets hot, it's over for her. She needs ice cold water and an industrial strength fan for sure to fix. Now, I'm not going to plug the refrigerator in because it has a massive carbon footprint, honestly, to run 2 refrigerators. But there will be at least, it's insulated, like kind of room temperature water out there if anybody ever needs it. And in a case like this, because he's a handyman. He occasionally loses his license, but he's a handyman. He does a lot of work in this community. He fixed the roof of my shed. It took months, but he did fine work, and it worked out well. It's a very good fix. And I told him to quote a price, and then I found out the materials actually cost most of that. He didn't even charge me much for labor, so I gave him a little extra. So very humble too, just very willing to help the community. And this is what I mean, you might have thought, oh, well, these people sound like terrible neighbors at first, but you get to know them and their personalities and who they are. And the people that from a distance seem like just bad neighbors, you get to know who they really are. Maybe they're some of the best neighbors. They're just not good for each other. I think that's where I fall on that. But the point is, and especially, I just put this together this afternoon, so it was well, I'm definitely going to tell them about it now, because this could be that moment of need where it's shit, I'm bleeding, the cops are coming. The cops aren't, the paramedics aren't coming, they can't afford a paramedic, but the cops aren't going to bandage you up if you're injured. You need a first aid kit, even if the cops are still coming. And you know what? The cops show up and he's still bleeding, and I'm trying to help him. They can wait a minute, okay? I'm trying to do something to help this man. And I think that that's one of those personal, hyper local moments that, and like seriously, moments after I finally got like the labeling on it and everything, and got it where I wanted it, boom, opportunity. I needed it. And honestly, there's probably many times in the past that I would have needed it for similar reasons, probably. And that's why I think it's a great idea for my local community, specifically to help those two. Because they're often out and about, they're often walking through my yard, so drop in for a water sometime. See if there's anything that you would like to get out of the free fridge, or the commie closet, as I call it. But it's that kind of thinking that I think is going to be the thing that starts to change the world. We need bigger organizations, and I really think that they need to be heavily networked, and these efforts have to be networked and coordinated on such a grand scale that we can really make impacts. But the seeds of that are starting your own little project, something that can help and something that ingratiates people to the idea of socialism. That's why it's called the commie closet. They're probably pretty conservative, I guess. A lot of people around here are. But if that's the association that I can build with them, with commies, like, I mean, we had people from the, like, I would have had a great opportunity to use this last week, because we had the public utility workers coming out and they were relaying the lines in along our road, which, awesome. I get new water lines. That is great. I appreciate you doing that for me. And it would have been really fucking cool for me to say, hey man, while you're at the end of this road, I leave that door unlocked. Feel free to wander in, open the fridge, grab yourself a water. It's not going to be cool, but if y'all have a cooler, you can take a couple drinks for the cooler. You and your buddies, drinks are on me. Thank you for helping out. And to show people that spirit exists, right? That kind of radical generosity. The kind of thing, where there's just a community, like a community library. Like, you know what I mean? Like one of those, like, it's like a wooden box up. It's kind of like a giant post box kind of thing, and people can just trade out books. We actually have a couple of those around here, and they just seem to be set up like on the corner of somebody's property. So like, I don't know exactly how these got started, but I would just imagine that if you had property in a place that got some amount of traffic, or was close to a place that got traffic, and you throw that thing on like Google Maps listed as a public library, people will show up there. I mean, that's how I found the ones around me, and they're just staked up in people's yards. You could do that too. You could have a community first aid and water station staked out in your front yard. People don't even have to come in onto your porch. So there's a lot of things that you could potentially do to just make the world a little bit more socialist, and show just average people in your community that those type of ideas can come in handy sometimes. And that's the first step in building the local communities that we need to support and bolster statewide, nationwide organizations. First, we need to get those converts, and this is one way of doing that. So if you have ideas of your own little commie projects, I would love to hear about them in the comments. Drop those things. Let us inspire each other. Let us realize all the ways in which change is possible. And if I can, I'll try to replicate a couple of your ideas and actually show other people what your ideas look like and how they could be implemented and how they could change the world. I mean, that's the kind of thing I believe in. It feels a little bit cheesy right now, but it was a good moment. Like, I mean, it was shitty for them. Like, I was like, look, I'm not getting in the middle of your fight, but if you need me to patch you up, I've got... It felt good to have... Because, like, I have the first aid kits anyways, But if I wasn't thinking about it like that, would I have thought about that? I mean, I would like to think that if I heard that he got injured and the cops were coming, I would think, well, he should at least get patched up before he gets arrested. But having that there really put it in the front of my mind. And I think that, there's a relationship there that's important, that when the like if you build it, they will come. kind of logic to it, that if you have this set up in advance, thinking about situations like this, then in a situation like this, it is there. And it is there. And that is the reason it's there. And in fact, if it hasn't been used, you're thinking, ooh, I finally get to use that thing that I set up. And I think really the most important part is just what it can do for your mood. How it can make you feel like change is possible. That's why I think that for a lot of people, kind of small community changes can be the most dramatic. Again, because it's a personal relationship that you're building with someone instead of, being a representative of an organization. It is you helping them out in the spirit of community socialism. But I really think that we have to start building in our communities. Even if it's small. Like, if you think there's nothing I can do, I want to come up with enough ideas that you find something you can do. There is something you can do. We can all do a little something. And if we all do a little something, that's going to snowball eventually. And we already have some organizations in place. If it snowballs into them, if they actually gain real political power, then maybe we can really change our course in history. Anyways, those are my hopes and dreams laid bare for you. Tell me your hopes and dreams too in the comments. Really appreciate it. And it's not just going to pick up my day to read those. It's going to help the other people who read them, the other people who comment as well. It is a way of building a community of positivity, starting here, starting right now. Do it. See you later.